Let's go ahead and start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next is a roll call. Nori Nelson.
Here.
Sean Samsel. Kelly Lee.
Here.
Charlene Robinson.
Here.
Aaron Johnson.
Here.
Doug Kenyon. Frank Santa Cruz.
Here.
Ed Verberg. John Bernal. Frank Fry.
Here.
Bill Schlesinger.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right, great. All right, next action item is the approval of the meeting minutes from the April 28th meeting. Is there any discussion for the meetings? For the minutes? No discussion? Is there a motion to approve the meeting minutes?
I move that we approve the minutes from the last meeting.
Second?
I second it.
All right, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, meeting minutes are approved. Thank you. Let's see, next we're going to have a master plan update from Sam Paz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Samuel Paz, Project Manager for Moving Pima. This afternoon, we'll provide a brief summary of our community engagement results and our survey results over the last few months. It's going to be a high-level review. We're not getting down into really fine detail of our data because we're still collecting the data for the next 6 weeks. So just kind of keep that in mind. Next slide, please. So just a quick reminder, so from a phase perspective, we are nearing the end of phase 1, which is our community engagement phase. We are expected to continue to collect community surveys and feedback over the next 5 or 6 weeks. We are approaching the middle of phase 2, which is vision and goals. Our project oversight committee is establishing those visions and goals over the last few weeks, and we'll continue to work for the next few months to establish those visions and goals. Next month, we're beginning phase 3, which is our project network identification and project selection phase. And so that phase is expected to last until the end of the year. Our first meeting will be July 17th with our stakeholders working group. Next slide, please. Just in summary, our community engagement team has been to 14 community events throughout Pima County. These are large-scale events with anywhere between 500 or 5,000 individuals attending those community events. We've also collected 3,600 survey and map comments. And we're also going out to our rural areas in Ajo, Ever Valley, Picture Rocks, and Amado. We've already started that, and so we have one event this week. We're hoping to do another kind of a small rural pop-up event in July. Our survey and map are available to the end of the summer, which we were saying is July 31st. We are also typically engaging between 50 and 75 residents at each community engagement event, plus or minus. Some of them have been in the hundreds, and some of them have been 25 or so, but we're usually averaging between 50 and 75. We also have upcoming virtual and in-person community event that we're anticipating to happen in the fall sometime. And lastly, we have our target social media campaign that our consultant team is putting together, and that will end at the end of July. Next slide, please. So this is a list of community engagement events that we have attended. They're in all districts and all communities. We've been to a few locations twice, But the idea is that we're reaching, all communities at least, twice, if not more. And like I said, we're also doing smaller rural pop-up locations with Southern Arizona Community Food Bank to really talk to those smaller rural communities. We only have one pending community event, that's FC Tucson, July 10th. And so that, again, will be at the Keno Sports Park. And so we're hoping to engage residents there. Next slide, please. So these are our photos of our community engagement events. I think the pictures kind of speak for themselves. You'll see, diverse users throughout the county. We have our elderly, our senior citizens, families, tribal members, cyclists and pedestrians. I think the other thing that's real evident in the photos is that county residents are more than willing to share their feedback on transportation issues. And so it's kind of been our job to focus their feedback to our survey and to our map. But in general, we're pretty well received by the community. I think the photo speaks for themselves. Lastly, I think the other thing that you see in the photo is that our community engagement team is comprised of our consultant group, DOT staff, and volunteers. And so we've been able to really, double our community engagement efforts by building up a team. So I think the photos reflect that. Lastly, I'll point out that there's a raffle winner on the bottom of your slides, right? So that's a lucky raffle winner that won the bike recently. Her name was Serena, and that bike is for her granddaughter. But that was one of the incentives that we used to collect feedback at these last 14 events. Moving on to survey results. So I'm only going to highlight a few questions, or a few of the survey questions. I won't highlight all of them. Some of them are demographic and income-based, but this is kind of the meat of the survey so far. Question 3 gives an opportunity to select the ways you travel in Pima County. You can see that driving alone is the highest at 90%. Walking and biking are also at the 25-22% level. So it's pretty easy to read the bar graph there. Moving on to question number 4. What prevents you from driving, biking, walking, or riding the bus? I think you'll see some trends that in most categories, I think the responses are things are too far or personal safety. Those seem to be the trends in most categories. Even in the driving category, we have a large amount saying they're already doing that. They're also considering that places are too far and personal safety also come out as kind of the trends in the data so far. Moving on to question 5. So what are the 3 most important transportation issues in Pima County today? So we asked residents to identify 3. This is interesting because we're getting traffic congestion and safety as 1 and 2, but you're also seeing on the number 3 spot is other, right? That other category. So if you break down that other category into smaller subcategories, you can actually see that road conditions and maintenance may have a higher response rates than some of the categories on the bar graph. So we're interested to see how that kind of develops over the next month and a half to see if that changes. But we're glad that we put that other category in there because it gives opportunity for county residents to share what their really concerns are if we're not listing them. And so that's kind of proving the point that road conditions and maintenance is also a large concern for county residents. Moving on to question 6. Please rank from most important to least important. So this is, kind of tells you pretty straight what's going on. I think the only thing that we've seen recently is there's been a switch between safety and pavement condition. That's kind of been going back and forth over the last, few months. But in theory, safety, pavement condition are kind of 1 and 2. Road widening, signal improvements kind of following close behind. And there also seems to be a little pattern between bicycle and pedestrian facilities kind of changing places every now and then too. So these are going to change obviously over the next month and a half. So we'll come back with more detail on the final lineup of priorities. Moving on. So lastly, this just represents the results from the interactive map. So the interactive map gives opportunity for county residents to identify, 6 categories and provide a map comment for that. So they can highlight a intersection, an obstacle, a safety concern, and they have 6 categories. And so I'm not going to go over these with you in an exhaustive manner. I will point out that, roadways taking close to 50% of the comments, bicycles 23, safety 17, pedestrian, transit, and other are 8% and 2%. There is some interesting kind of themes coming out of this exercise. And so one of the themes is that you'll see topics or categories that touch another category. And so, for example, a roadway, one of the comments we got is need for protected bike lanes. And so that's coming from a roadway. Somebody would put a comment on the map, and that was the category that they picked. So these kind of spill into each other. So we're interested to see how these turn up as we conclude the community engagement over the next few months. But again, like even bicycle, there was comments about high speeds. Is that a bicycle comment or is that a roadway condition comment? And so again, I think this is very interesting just to kind of look at these results. So we haven't done a deep dive into the comment survey results. As I was saying, we're still doing community engagement for the next 6 weeks. But I do think it'll be interesting to look at these, by zip code, by corridor, by community to really see if we're seeing any trends pop up in, the Drexel Heights area or Catalina Foothills. We haven't done that yet. We're talking to our consultant team to just really think about how do we categorize and how do we identify trends in each area of the county. I also think it's interesting to see what the rural communities are saying as well. So again, this isn't an exhaustive review, where it's a high level, just pointing out trends that we're seeing over the last few months. Like I said, we're doing community engagement through the rest of the summer. I think we'll be approaching 5,000 community survey responses, so we're really pushing hard for the next 6 weeks to get the word out, get to our communities, go to the events, and really hear from all communities in Pima County. Next slide. So if you have any questions, you can follow up with me. If you want to volunteer at any of our outreach events, they're really interesting to hear what county residents have to say. The first response is that I've heard repeatedly is, do you really want me to tell you about county roads? And we say, that's what we're here for. We want to hear all of it, good, bad, the ugly. And so, but I think our community engagement results are a product of our community engagement team being built up of our consultant, DOT staff, and volunteers. And so, I would encourage you to reach out to the volunteer at a community engagement event. It's really just interesting to see all that diverse feedback we get. And so, other than that, I'll stand for any questions.
Chair Fry, Sam, nice presentation. Got a couple, in your phase, the different phases you had a part where it talked about doing analysis.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of analysis are you going to do?
So I think some analysis that we have to do is looking at the community survey and the map comments. And then, so that's one component of analysis. We also have to look at an analysis of our traffic flows, right? Of our movement of people, goods, land use patterns. That's a big task that our consulting team is going to have to look at, growth for the next 20 or 30 years.
Okay.
So it's a big task. And so the community engagement part of it's only kind of one component of that. And so I'm interested to see what our consulting team comes back with and says, oh yeah, we think these things are going to be factors. We also have a task with our consulting team is to look at different growth patterns. So what do we look like if we do a low growth pattern, a medium, high? How does that affect transportation? So there's a little bit of modeling, there's a little bit of research, there's a little bit of looking at our community engagement survey results as well.
In your analysis and your plan, are you just looking at the unincorporated areas of Pima County, or are you working with the other jurisdictions with what they're planning to do?
So it's yes to both,
Okay.
right? So moving Pima is really to focus on unincorporated areas of the county, but we're also looking at what our local governments are doing, what's Marana doing, Sahuarita, obviously the city of Tucson with their plans, and PAG as well. So there's a little bit of homework and research and how do we tie in those projects together. some of the things that you'll hear in a future update is a lot of our feedback from our project oversight committee and our community members is based off the number of construction projects going on at the same time. A lot of them have concerns about how do we coordinate projects together regionally, and how do we coordinate construction projects to, minimize impacts. And so that's something that pops up a lot at community engagement events, like, who thought it was a good idea to close 3 major roads at one time? And so thankfully, we can say it's not us, right? We didn't close down 22nd and Grant and those other projects. We tell them, those are city projects and you can go to the city if you have concerns. But that seems to be a popular theme at our events is how do you coordinate with regional partners? And we need to do a better job of that regionally. So it's yes to both your questions.
I'll just say, I've gotten that question before, and my response is usually, well, we kept it down to only 3 roads being built at the same time. So, anyway.
I might have to steal that from you.
So, this is a kind of question, or and maybe comment. Your outreach really seems to at least graphically here, focus on alternate modes. The responses seem to indicate what we all know, that the great majority of people still like to drive.
Yeah.
Is the outreach still talking to the people that drive?
I mean, we're talking to all users.
Okay.
And so that's the community engagement plan is, we're not focusing on, just the pedestrian community. They are part of our groups that we reach out to in general, but we also want to hear from our transit, our paratransit, our rural communities, our small businesses, our local partners. So I would say, we're focusing on all users and all mobility types.
Okay. Thanks.
Do I have to press the button?
That's all.
Oh, okay. Hi, I'm Kelly Lee. I work for KB Home, and just wondering, one of the things that keeps ringing in my head about RTI Next is some of the concerns of developers in Vail, and how that RTA Next didn't have a lot of road improvements in there. Is that something that the long-range plan does? Do you speak with developers, or how do you handle what we know is actually going to be growth in the near future?
So yes, that's a good question. So I think the best phase where we're going to consider that is with our phase 3, our stakeholder working group.
Okay.
And so we're in our stakeholder working group, we have a lot of agencies that really represent kind of the growth. So, the state land department, local developers, our school districts, some nonprofits as well. And so that's why that phase 3 is pretty important to hear from kind of the development and the banking, the financial, movements of development in Pima County. So that's why that group is particularly assigned at phase 3. How do we look at our priorities from a network perspective, and how do we look at growth from a network perspective? So I would say we're doing those discussions in phase 3 with our stakeholders working group.
And when is phase 3 going to occur?
So it starts next month.
Next month.
Yeah, next month till the remainder of the year.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And if additional groups want to contact you to have presentations, that's still available, and who do they contact if that's?
They can contact me. They can go to the project website. My email is also available on the project website as well.
Okay.
If I can't cover for a reason, we'll get somebody to present to them. We presented at the Small Business Commission a few weeks ago. And so, yeah, if there's any community group that wants, extra outreach, we can certainly meet that.
Okay, thank you.
All right, very good presentation, Sam.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next up is an RTA Next update from Director Skinner.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Catherine Skinner. Ooh, now I know why you're holding this, Sam. Okay. Here with the update on the RTA Next. So it has passed. We're all working feverishly to get projects started. Last month, the RTA board, or actually, I guess it was earlier this month, the RTA board met and approved a revised approach to how we're going to tackle intergovernmental agreements and project agreements for RTA Next projects, with the goal being to streamline. One of the main objectives of the RTA and their executive director is to figure out how to get the projects built quickly, overcome some of these challenges from RTA 1. And so one of those bottlenecks is often the processing of those legal agreements required for projects. What does that mean specifically? It is that the RTA will have a singular intergovernmental agreement with each of its member agencies that covers, the basic rules of how we engage and partner and indemnify each other. It will not speak to the specific dollar amount of a project or a specific scope of a project. Instead, those master IGAs will reference a project charter. The project charter will get into those details that we used to include as exhibits within an IGA, but now will be standalone documents, and those will include the scope information, the budget information, some other details about the project specific, whether it be a roadway expansion project or a categorical project, like a bike lane improvement. Those project charters, the delegation to approve them, ideally will be designated to the chief executive of each entity. So the RTA would be their executive director, Michael Ortega. On our end, it would be our county administrator, Jan Lesher, city manager, town manager, whomever it is for the various entities that are members of PAG and RTA. So that's one big step forward that has been made with the RTA board blessing that just a couple weeks ago. We anticipate the first round of IGAs and project charters will be getting approval by the RTA board and the respective executives here in the early to mid-fall, September, October timeframe. And that will get these projects going in earnest and allow money to be exchanged for work that is actually already being done. So how is work being done without those charters and IGAs? It is that the RTA executive director has given pre-authorization, if the various member agencies have requested it, to begin activities prior to having that agreement in place. Because as soon as the voters approved it, and April 1st was the first day that the new tax began to be collected, these projects are legally allowed to move forward. We don't want to lose any time on the clock, right? These are hard projects to deliver. So the county has requested pre-authorization for 3 projects. Those projects are First Avenue from Orange Grove to Ina. That was an RTA 1 project, but due to a scope change, it's been included and listed in the RTA 2 RTA Next package. Also Silver Bell, Camino del Cerro up to Ina. Again, carryover project with a scope change, therefore it needed to be listed again, and it has adequate funding to deliver that project. And then also the first phase of the Valencia widening project that'll go from Mission to Camino de la Tierra. That project we have well underway. We already have a construction manager at risk on board, and we anticipate construction to be starting in the spring, we'll say. Hopefully we'll be seeking the construction authorization of funding by late fall, which would allow a start hopefully 3 to 6 months later. So we asked for that pre-authorization so that as we start getting into more of the construction expenses, those are eligible as well. And we'll be working on the more formalized project agreements and IGAs as we speak. Within the next couple of weeks, we're trying to get a meeting set up. So other that's mostly speaking to the roadway element. What's happening with some of the other elements? The city has put together a program for delivering their share of the pavement, arterial and collector pavement repair program, they had the lion's share of that funding, and so that will be underway, shortly. I think that's planned to be one of the big kickoff projects. The dirt is flying, as they used to say with RTA 1, we're getting things built. That'll be one of the first milestone projects for the city. Almost every member agency of PAG has requested pre-authorization on some project or other. There are some safety projects that are moving forward. At this time, the county hasn't requested any specific projects. We do have line items that are specifically earmarked for Pima County's use only in that ADA active transportation category and safety category. And so we feel good about using our Safe Streets for All priority project list that's being developed as we speak as one of the tools that we're going to use for selecting projects, since we do have that really comprehensive planning effort just about to conclude. We want to use that as the technical background on the projects we're going to request funding for from that category. And transit has been lots of coordination between the city and the RTA. Initially, we are going to be stepping through updating our maintenance of effort agreement with the RTA. As some of you may know or recall, the county does not directly manage the portion of transit that is occurring in unincorporated Pima County. We have a maintenance of effort agreement with the RTA. We provide about $8 million a year, and they manage it for us, or they contract over to the city of Tucson Suntran for some of the fixed route service. But we're very, involved still and want to become more involved to make sure that RTA Next allocation of funding for transit serves the unincorporated population as much as it should, even if we're not the ones managing transit itself. We're representing for the constituency in unincorporated Pima County. Last part of the update is back to those carryover roadway projects. There were about 18 projects, some of them not listed within the ballot itself, but they are RTA 1 projects that have not yet been completed. So think 22nd Street with the bridge closed right now that we just heard about. We didn't name it before, Grant Road, that a lot of people may drive through from, about Alvernon through Swan has been closed for a while. Those are projects that are, we can see evidence of construction. There are others that will be starting construction soon. And the goal is that anything that was tied to the first RTA program that passed in 2006 will be completed within the first period of RTA Next. So that's a 5-year period. That really concludes a lot of the activities that are going on. It's always very exciting to have this much money to spend, but there's a lot of getting things organized before you start seeing real activity. I'm happy to entertain questions, but I will say I do have one question for you as a committee. Over the past 5 or so years, we've been giving our regular every meeting updates on RTA Next. I know a lot of it was during the development of the program. What projects would the county be submitting? Now that we have an actual established program and we're in the delivery phase, I would like to hear from the committee how frequently you would like to have these updates. If you'd like to continue to have regular updates, or if they may evolve into something else. And if you don't have an answer now, that's fine. You can send it our way in between. If you send it directly to us, it won't be an open meeting violation. We'll just figure that out for upcoming agendas. So again, open it up to questions for you all.
Any comments on continued updates? It's something maybe every 6 months
Yeah,
would be appropriate?
yes.
But
Yeah, I think as you get new information on which projects are moving forward and the dates and timings, it's helpful for the committee, especially if we have citizens coming in asking about roads. It's just nice to know the timing.
Sure.
So I don't think there's a presentation required for that, but just paperwork or something to include in the packet.
Okay, that's a great idea.
Chairman Fry and Catherine, can we maybe have an update every meeting on at least the Pima County projects?
We can do that. We can keep updating every time. It was really just to gauge the
Me personally, I
interest from the committee.
Based on what this committee's about, I don't know, it's been nice to hear the overall RTA updates, but I don't know, at least personally, that I need to hear the overall updates for every jurisdiction at this
Yeah.
meeting. But I think it'd be nice to hear a brief summary of what Pima County projects are going on.
Sure.
That's just me.
Any other comments on? Okay,
Okay. Thank you all.
all right. Thank you, Director Skinner. All right, next on the agenda, Jason Bowley with the pavement program update.
All right, let me move to the side so that I can see everybody. Well, thank you, members of the committee. Thank you, Chair, as well. We've got quite a lot to go through, so we'll just kind of really get ratcheted off with the stuff that we've been talking about. So our update for fiscal year 26 program, which, as you know, is wrapping up here very quickly with the last week or so going on right now. Substantially complete. What we did in this slide was, it was getting a bit cluttered from last time, so everything here is brand new to the substantially complete column since we last met. You can see quite a lot of work is wrapped up in the last 2 months since we've met. That includes all 3 of our surface treatment projects, which are substantially complete. Both the Three Rivers and Vale Green Valley jobs still have final striping outstanding, but otherwise they're pretty much wrapped up with all their cleanup, with only striping left. Drexel Heights job is completely done, so even final striping is done on that as well. Pitcher Rocks Mill and Pave and Ventana Canyon Mill and Pave are both completely finished. So all final work, all final cleanup is done on those. And then Broadway Boulevard just recently finished up in the last week. They still have final striping left on that, but all other activities are complete at this time. We do still have one ongoing project to speak of right now. That's the Los Reales Road project. It's mill and paving from Mission Road west to Sorrel Lane. That job is finishing their final utilities today with their temporary striping going tomorrow, and then it will be substantially complete after that. So really that job has one more day left after today before it's wrapped up, with final striping still about a month or so after that, and cleanup taking approximately the next couple days as well. Some project photos to just kind of share some of the stuff we've been doing the last couple months. Up there on the top left, that's a photo from the middle part of that Broadway Boulevard project. So you can see the recently paved lane as well as the lane getting prepped for paving as well. So right in the middle of the project there. The top middle is from our Los Reales project. So on that Los Reales project, we did a mill with a chip inner layer and then a pave to help try to mitigate some cracking. And so that's what you're seeing there, is that chip inner layer going down before the paving activities happened. Top right is a fog seal that just got finished out on the Vale and Green Valley project. Bottom left is a traditional mill and pave that was done on Delgado down off of Saudita Road. And then on the bottom right, that is the midway point of a Cape Seal project that was done up in Catalina. You can see on the left side of that road, just the chip. On the right side, the fresh micro seal going down over top of the chip to smooth out the road. So just kind of a variety of what we've had going on the last couple of months. We do have one more project that is part of the fiscal year 26 program. The Sunrise Drive Mill and Pave project. So this is following after the completion of the Esperero Wash project. That's why that job is shifted over to fiscal year 27. So right now they're looking at starting at the beginning of August. So pretty tight turnaround between the end of the capital project and the beginning of the pavement pres project, with really only about a week and a half in between major construction activities. So The coordination between the contractors has been going really well, and we're very excited to get that underway and happy that we're able to do so without redisturbing the area again after constituents get used to driving the open road. So it's nice to be able to get all the work done in a short period of time and be able to turn it over as a newly paved road with a new bridge as well. So that's where that's going. Kind of the overall high numbers here, as you would kind of expect. Most of the pie chart shows complete with, again, that one project in construction and the one project that is still in the awarded phase but not yet started, being Sunrise Drive. So briefly, I'll mention the map on the next slide that you can see all the projects selected for the program thus far, which as of today does now include the fiscal 27 roads. So they're on that map. They're not on the screen, but trust me, if you go to the link, they'll be there. With that being said, enough teaser. I'll talk about fiscal 27 a little bit. So some very high level stuff for fiscal 27. We went with a 60-40 split for our dollars this year, which is the same split that we did last year. That's as a result of reviewing some of the PCI data, which we'll talk about a little further in this presentation. But the local road network, we felt needed a little bit higher percentage of the dollars than the arterial collectors for this fiscal year. As a reminder, there's $28.2 million that has been approved for budget this fiscal year. And that budget dollar amount does include Sunrise Drive. So the dollars cover that just because the way things work. The Sunrise Drive project, the dollars were replaced with the Los Reales project that we mentioned previously. So fiscal year 26, we were able to still get the same dollars spent that we were planning to without impacting fiscal 27. So we basically flopped the two projects. Some more kind of detail on the mileage. So the mileage for this fiscal year, you could see just shy of 85 total miles of roadway that's going to get either repair or preservation with a slight leaning towards a higher mileage for repair, which you would expect because our repair dollars, we're doing a 70-30 split again this year with 70% of the budget going to repair, 30% to preservation, and that we'll get a little bit later on. We'll talk about the guiding principles again. That is in line with our guiding principles. Of note, though, the mileage here does not include Sunrise Drive. So this is unique new mileage to the program. I forgot what I was going to say there. So yeah, we'll move on. So how are we breaking down those miles? So what we're looking at for fiscal 27 are two hard bid projects. So just a reminder that we have two procurement methods for our jobs, hard bid and job order contract. This current year and past fiscal years, we've been primarily utilizing our job order contract. We do have two projects that we're going to do in fiscal 27 that are going to be hard bid projects, meaning they're above our job order contract dollar limit. They're large enough projects that we need to do a competitive bid just open to everybody. So that's all that means. We still are going to have one curb ramp project that's just by itself, one concrete curb ramp project. There will be a separate paving project for that area later in the year, so that's part of that 4 paving projects. 3 combo paving and curb ramp projects, so we've experimented with that a little bit this year to great success. We had good bids coming back on all those projects that were very competitive, and the coordination with contractors being able to control the whole work site the whole time was really beneficial according to the feedback we got from our contractors. So we have a higher amount of those next year than we do standalone curb ramp followed by standalone paving. The reason we do still have that standalone curb ramp that will be followed by a standalone paving job is due to size. Just due to the size of that curb ramp project, it wouldn't be possible to do a jock contract with both the curb ramps and paving for that location, just due to the dollar amount. So that's why we still separate it out for value there and for time. and then 5 surface treatment projects as well next year. Moving on, so we mentioned those overall program guiding principles, just kind of a reminder to everyone of where we are every given year. So 70-30 split, so 70% of dollars maximum to arterial collectors, 30% minimum to locals in any given fiscal year. This year, it is 40% arterial collector, 60% local. So well within those boundaries. Surface treatment, up to 35% of the budget can be going for preventative maintenance. For surface treatment work, we're at 30% this year. With those treatments being selected for the appropriate treatment, right treatment, right time. And then PCI category breakpoints. We're going to talk a little bit more about that on the next slide, so I'm going to gloss over that right now. But just note that there's more categories there than you're used to seeing. So we'll talk about that shortly. But then the network goals, again, remaining the same. So 5% or less in that below 25 PCI area, at least 50% of the network between 170 PCI as well. And happy to report we are well within those network goals currently, with 2% in that 25 to 0 and 68% above that 70 PCI range. So well within our network goals. So I mentioned I was going to talk about PCI category updates. So we've got this really colorful slide here kind of showing the old PCI categories and the new PCI categories. So again, just want to emphasize the network goals did not change. So this change that we've adjusted here aligns us better with the ASTM. So the ASTM is primarily, most people that follow the ASTM are using the 7 categories that we're adjusting to on the middle chart there, middle column. So these categories are more descriptive categories. They better explain where different preservation activities happen, where different kind of repair activities happen. They don't change our selection criteria though for what's repair, for what's preservation. That stays the same. The real nice thing about this, I will mention, there's been a lot of constituents that call in and go, my road that is a 58, there's no way that's a good road. Well, they are right. That's a fair road. It's not good. So these categories better explain to the constituent what they're seeing with their own eyes, and it's a better explanation to describe the condition of that PCI value. So that's the real impetus for this change, is to align us with ASTM even better than we were, as well as be more descriptive with our categories to allow for a better discussion with constituents over the condition of their roadways. So what about the condition of the roadways? You might be asking. We did a condition survey over the last year or so. We've been talking about this progress, and so some high levels of the results of that. So utilizing the new categories, you can see the vast majority of the network is in that very good category, 85 to 100 PCI, with a good chunk of it in fair and good as well. So where we would like to see things be, total wise, that's 66.8 in very good and good, 3.5 in the serious and critical category. Now, you'll say, oh, that doesn't match what you just told us before. That is very true, because that does not include a portion of the fiscal 25 or 26 projects. So this condition data that I'm showing you now is a snapshot in time. So it's not the current live information. It was as of when that van ran those roads, which in some cases was a week before they got milled and paved, or a day before they got milled and paved in one subdivision. That was fun to watch. So another way of showing that, I've got a chart here that will kind of, if you're like me, show a little bit more visually where we're at. And you can see that really the vast majority is on that right side of the chart, which is exactly where we would like to see it. And then lastly, we'll just end with kind of a comparison of where we were when we did our survey in 2022 versus where we were with this survey that we did in late 2025. And again, in both cases, this is as of survey date. And so these are both kind of snapshots in time, but they do show a good improvement being made between those years. So you'll notice it's a little harder to see, but about 60 or 70 miles of additional road in very good compared to the previous survey. And the good category also is higher than it was before. And it's important to note that though we are constantly doing work, roads also constantly are degrading. And so it is a push and pull when it comes to trying to keep up with things. So I think what you're seeing there also shows that push and pull as well, with additional roads being in the serious category as compared to in 2022. Again, though, I would be comfortable saying that a lot of those roads from 2025 that were in serious are, again, no longer in serious because they were part of either the fiscal 25 or 26 program that have been accounted for since the van ran through those roads. So with that, I know that was a lot. I threw a lot of different things at you, so I will open to any questions.
Any questions for Jason? Great
Perfect.
presentation, Jason.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, the next item is open discussion on any meetings with the Board of Supervisors. I don't know if any of the committee has had any meetings in the last 2 months? But today? All right. With nothing there, call to the audience. Do we have any questions today?
We have no calls to the audience.
All right. Next, any future items the committee would like to see for future agendas? Nope. All right. Being none, any other business to discuss?
I'd like to bring up just two. One is a compliment to the contractor on the Sunrise project. I represent District 1 and personally am on Sunrise probably 2 or 3 times a day, but people are calling me and telling me that they felt the signage, the detour plan was so much better than other ones they have seen, that it was easy to understand where to go, that you didn't have to, immediately try to figure it out. It was just well done, even in the dark, when it's extremely dark on that road. So they wanted me to share that positive comment, that it's disruptive without a doubt, but it just moves smoothly because of the way it's designed. So we'll be happy when it's done, but it's been much less painful than all of us thought it was going to be, so that's a good thing. And the other thing is a big concern that I'm hearing from a number of people. There was a fatality and a serious injury on Sabino Canyon Road in January. And I know people brought to the attention of the Department of Transportation. Of concern was the fact that Sabino Canyon Road in front of the business of Three Canyon Restaurant and Bar, there is no lighting at all. The road dips right when people cross the road. And so it's difficult. Someone was killed, and then the partner is seriously injured to this day. So while I know that it meets the requirements in terms of where a stoplight is and whatever, it seems like in the case of a fatality, it should get another look. And maybe some markers or a speed bump or something could be done to get traffic to be aware that, people do cross the road there and that it's very dark.
All right, thank you. Anyone else have anything to discuss? All right. Is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I motion to adjourn.
Okay.
Charlene.
And a second.
All right, thank you. All in favor?
Hi.
Opposed? All right. Thank you, and thank you everyone for attending this month's meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.